Martin Gray was a 65-year-old man living on Luna Colony, the biggest human settlement on the moon. He was a millionaire, rich from building medical robots during the Earth pandemics 50 years ago. He no longer worked. His life was now full of food, games, and lazy evenings. He spent his nights in a glass tower that looked out into space. Martin was not a kind man. People said he was smart but arrogant. He liked to feel powerful. Every Friday, he met with other rich men at the Celestial Club, a private place where only the richest people came. There, they played cards, made bets, and laughed loudly about things that didn't matter. That Friday night, the mood was light, and the air was full of smoke and soft music. Martin had just won a game of lunar poker when one of his friends, a man named Alec, leaned in with a grin. "Martin," Alec said, "you always say money can make anyone love you." "Prove it." Martin raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I dare you to marry someone no one would expect, a woman who's not young, not beautiful, not rich, someone people would laugh at. Let's see if your charm still works." Martin laughed. "Easy, give me a name." Alec pointed to a woman cleaning the corner of the room. She was heavy, dressed in a gray uniform, and moved slowly. She had soft eyes and tied her hair in a neat bun. "That one, the janitor." "Her name's Nina." The group of rich men chuckled. Martin stood up, adjusted his jacket, and walked toward her. "Hello," he said, smiling. "I'm Martin. Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow?" Nina looked up, surprised. She paused, then answered calmly, "All right." The next evening, Martin took her to a fancy restaurant with golden walls and floating candles. People stared, some whispered. Nina wore a simple green dress and a small silver ring on her finger. She didn't seem uncomfortable. She just ate slowly and listened to Martin talk about himself. After dessert, Martin said, "So Nina, would you marry me?" There was a long silence. Nina looked at him without blinking. "Yes," she said softly, "but only if you're ready to see the truth." Martin didn't understand her words, but he nodded. He thought she was joking. This was just a dare after all. They were married 2 days later in a small legal ceremony. No friends came. Martin didn't care. He planned to end the joke in a month, but something strange started to happen. Nina moved into Martin's penthouse. She didn't touch his money, didn't ask for anything. Every night, she sat on the balcony, watching the stars. She spoke little, but when she did, her words were sharp and deep. One morning, Martin woke up and saw his personal AI assistant, Rex, acting strangely. "Sir," Rex said, "your home systems have been improved overnight. The code is cleaner, more efficient." "But I don't know who did it," Martin blinked. "What are you talking about?" "I have new functions I didn't have before. My response time has doubled." Martin turned to Nina, who was reading a digital book at the kitchen table. "Did you do something to Rex?" Nina didn't look up. He was slow. "I helped him think faster." Martin stared at her. "You rewrote his code?" "Only a little. I used to build AI systems on Earth, long ago, before people stopped listening to me." Martin laughed, confused. "You were a scientist?" She finally looked at him. Her eyes were calm, not by title. "But yes, until people decided I didn't." "Look like one." Martin didn't know what to say. He felt something inside shift, a small crack in his pride. Days passed. Nina never complained, never argued. She spent her time reading, solving puzzles, or writing strange symbols on her tablet. One night, Martin walked past her room and saw glowing lines floating in the air. They moved like music, forming shapes he didn't understand. "What is that?" he asked. Nina closed the tablet. "Math. That's not normal math. It's not from Earth." Martin frowned. "Are you saying it's alien?" Nina stood and walked toward him. She handed him a small white envelope. "Open this only when the stars start blinking," she said. Martin was confused. What do you mean blinking? Stars don't blink. They will, she said. And when they do, you'll understand why you married me. She walked past him, leaving him holding the envelope in silence. Later that night, Martin sat alone. By the window. He looked out at the stars, remembering the dare, remembering the laugh from Alec and the others. He had married Nina as a joke. But now, nothing felt funny. Who was she really? What had she meant by not from Earth? And why did he feel like something bigger, something far beyond money or pride, was about to begin? Martin didn't sleep that night. He just waited for the stars to blink. Martin Gray sat in his wide chair, staring through the crystal window of his Luna Colony apartment. Outside, space looked quiet, calm, and empty. But inside Martin's mind, nothing was calm anymore. He kept thinking about Nina, the woman he had married on a dare. She was not what he expected. Not loud, not emotional, not demanding. She was something stranger, calm, silent, and brilliant. Rex, Martin's AI assistant, had confirmed that Nina had changed his entire system in one night. The code was cleaner, stronger, and more advanced than anything Rex had seen before. That morning, Martin walked into the kitchen where Nina was making tea. She wore the same soft gray robe she always wore in the mornings. Her eyes were tired, but focused, as if she had been thinking all night. "Did you sleep?" Martin asked. "Not much," she said quietly. "I was solving a small problem." "What kind of problem?" She showed him a tablet screen full of glowing equations, symbols. He didn't understand. "Just language," she said. "Patterns and wave signals." Martin narrowed his eyes. "Language? From where?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to him with a question. "Do you believe humans are the smartest life in the universe?" Martin shrugged. "We got two. The moon, didn't we? Built as I cured diseases. We're not doing too badly." Nina smiled slightly. "But that's not what I asked." He stayed quiet. Later that day, Martin searched her name in the colony's database. There was no full record. Just a short history. Earth-born, science background, once worked in a small lab. Fired 20 years ago after making unverified claims about deep space frequencies. He didn't understand the full details. But the term mental health evaluation requested caught his attention. When he asked Nina about it, she simply replied, "People judge what they don't understand." I didn't look like someone who could be a scientist, so they laughed. Martin felt a strange mix of guilt and confusion. He had judged her too, even married her as a joke. But now, she was turning out to be the most interesting person he had ever met. 3 nights later, something strange happened. Martin was drinking tea alone when suddenly, the stars outside began to flicker, not one or two, but all of them. For a full second, the sky looked like it was breathing. Then, it stopped. He stood up, heart racing. "Rex, what was that?" Rex replied, "Sir, that was impossible." Every visible star blinked at once. Sensors confirm a synchronized light pattern. Martin remembered the envelope. He ran to his drawer and pulled it out. His hand shook as he opened it. Inside was a single thin sheet. Coordinates, star charts, strange patterns, and a short message. "They noticed us." This was their hello. "It begins now." Nina. Martin turned slowly. Nina was standing behind him, calm as ever. "You knew this would happen," he said. She nodded. "Yes." "Who are they?" She walked toward the window and pointed at the sky. "They are watchers. The Varel. They've been watching Earth for over 200 years. I was one of the first to notice their signals, but no one believed me." Martin swallowed. "You're saying aliens sent that light signal?" "Yes," she said. "And that was not random. That was language." Martin sat down, overwhelmed. "Why you? Why now?" Nina finally sat beside him. Her voice was soft, but steady. "Because I never stopped listening. Long after they laughed at me, long after I was fired. I kept working. I learned their math, their rhythm. I found a way to speak back. Martin stared at her. And you did? I sent one message a year ago. I told them about humanity, the good and the bad. I told them we are still learning. And they replied? They blinked the stars. Martin felt his mouth go dry. This woman, who had been cleaning floors just weeks ago, had made first contact with alien life. Why didn't you tell anyone? He asked. Nina looked at him with sad eyes. Because people listen to appearances, not truth. I knew no one would believe me. But now you've seen it yourself. That evening, Martin watched Nina work. She sat with 3 tablets open, one hand moving in the air, adjusting floating graphs. Her fingers moved slowly but with precision. She looked like a conductor, leading invisible music. He had once thought she was just a joke. Now she was rewriting everything he thought he knew. Why? Did you say yes? He asked suddenly. She paused but didn't turn around. To the marriage. I mean, he added. I was curious, she said after a moment. I wanted to know if a man like you could change. Change? Yes, from pride to humility. From money to meaning. Martin didn't know what to say. He had always thought of himself as powerful, above others. But now, sitting next to Nina, he felt small, not in a bad way, but in a way that made him want to be better. That night, Martin couldn't sleep. He stood by the window, looking at the sky again. One star blinked. Just once, then stopped. Martin smiled. He didn't fully understand what was coming, but he knew one thing. Nina wasn't just a janitor. She was a genius. A quiet guardian of knowledge. And she had just opened the door to the universe. Martin Gray sat in silence, holding the paper Nina had given him days ago. The memory of the stars blinking all at once was still fresh in his mind. It was not a dream. It was real. His AI assistant Rex had confirmed it. Every visible star had pulsed in perfect timing. And Nina had predicted it. She didn't speak much after the event. She simply returned to her quiet routine, reading strange symbols, adjusting glowing devices, and sitting on the balcony to watch the sky. Martin couldn't ignore it anymore. He needed answers. That morning, he walked into the living room, where Nina was sketching diagrams in the air with her tablet. Blue lines floated and rotated around her like tiny satellites. He cleared his throat. We need to talk. She looked up and nodded. All right. Martin sat across from her, his voice softer than usual. You said those blinking stars were aliens, the Varel. Why now? Why respond to you after so many years? Nina folded her hands. Because I didn't speak like the others. Most humans who tried to contact them were demanding or proud. I was honest. I told them our truth. Martin leaned in. What truth? That we are not perfect. That we fight, we fail, we hurt each other. But we also dream, create, and love. I told them we are still growing. I didn't try to impress them. I just showed them who we really are. Martin listened quietly. He felt something new in his chest. Respect. Later that day, Nina asked Martin to follow her. She led him into a hidden room at the back of their apartment. The door was locked with a special code. Inside, Martin saw a strange machine. It was small, shaped like a circle, floating above the ground. Lights moved along its edge. There were no wires, no buttons, only silence. This is what I've been working on for the past 10 years, Nina said. I call it the relay. It listens to the signals of the universe and translates them into patterns. Martin walked around it slowly. Did you build this? Yes, from scrap, from leftover tech, from parts no one cared about. Martin was amazed. What does it do? It speaks back, she said. Not just listens, it learns their language. Martin looked at her, stunned. You mean, you've already spoken to them? Nina nodded. And they answered. The blink was there. Message. That night, Martin sat on the balcony, trying to understand everything. He thought about the dare, about the men laughing at the Celestial Club, about how he once saw Nina as a joke. Now she had become the key to something far greater than anything he had built in his entire life. He turned to Rex, his AI assistant. "What do you think about her?" Rex replied, "She is the most intelligent human I have ever scanned, sir. Her understanding of signal language and quantum coding is beyond current Earth standards." Martin nodded. "I believe it." Then Rex added, "Sir, the machine she built is receiving another signal." Martin stood up. "From the Varel?" "I believe so." Martin ran to the back room. Nina was already there, her hand floating in the air, guiding the relay as it pulsed softly. The lights were changing color blue to green to white. "They're sending coordinates," Nina said. "A location above Luna Colony." "A ship is coming," Martin blinked. "A ship?" "Yes, they want to meet." He took a deep breath. "Meet? You?" "Yes." The next day, the sky above Luna Colony changed. People across the moon saw a shimmer in the stars. A long silver shape appeared in orbit, silent, smooth, and unlike any human ship. The world panicked. News networks reported unknown object. Earth's governments demanded answers. But Nina stayed calm. Martin asked, "What do they want?" "They said they will only speak to me." "Why?" "Because I spoke with honesty. And because I listened without asking for reward." By evening, Nina received a direct message on the relay. It was short. "We are near. We invite you to speak with us. Come with one companion only." She looked at Martin. "They want me to choose one person. I choose you." Martin was shocked. "Me? Why?" "Because this began with you. You changed more than anyone else. You deserve to see what I see." Martin nodded slowly. He wasn't sure if he was ready, but he trusted her now. They took a small shuttle up to the edge of the atmosphere. The alien ship was quiet and beautiful, like a silver bird in space. As they entered, soft lights guided them through a clear tunnel. No guards, no weapons, just peace. Inside, they met the Varel. They were tall, glowing beings, transparent skin, soft voices like wind. They did not walk, but floated. Their eyes held no anger, only curiosity. One of them spoke through the air. "You are Nina." She bowed gently. "Yes." The being turned to Martin. "And you are the one who mocked her." Martin felt a sting in his heart. "Yes," he said quietly. "But I didn't know who she was." The Varel looked at Nina. "And yet you brought him," Nina smiled. "Because he is learning." The aliens paused. Then said, "Then there may be hope for your kind." After a few minutes of silence, the Varel offered something unexpected. "We have a gift. A tool that can end sickness, grow food from dust, and repair the body. But we will not give it to leaders. We will give it to you, Nina. You must decide when and how it is shared." Martin looked at her in awe. The Varel said, "You are our first human guardian." Nina bowed again. "I accept." As they returned to the shuttle, Martin sat beside Nina in silence. Finally he said, "I married you as a joke." "I know," she replied, "but now I think you're the greatest person I've ever met." She looked at him and smiled. "You don't have to say that. I'm not saying it for you. I'm saying it because it's true." Nina looked out the window at the stars. "They're watching now," she said. "Not just the Varel, everyone." Martin nodded. "Then let's give them something worth watching." Back on Luna Colony, Martin Gray walked through the halls of his apartment with a different mind. The man who once laughed at people who looked less perfect now followed a woman who had made peaceful contact with an alien race. Nina, his wife, the same woman he once married for a joke, was now the key to Earth's future. Everything had changed since their visit to the alien ship. The Varel had trusted Nina with powerful technology, one that could cure disease, grow food from nothing, and repair broken human bodies. But they had given it only to her. No leaders, no governments, no corporations. Only her. And now, She had to decide how to use it. Martin sat quietly in the kitchen, sipping hot tea as Nina returned from her private lab. She looked calm as always, but her eyes carried weight, like she had seen something that could not be explained. "I've decided what to do," Nina said, sitting beside him. "With the gift?" Martin asked. She nodded. "Yes, but first, I want to show you something." She led Martin through a long underground tunnel connected to their building. He had never been there before. At the end was a heavy metal door, locked with a small screen. Nina touched the screen, and the door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a hidden lab. Not large, but filled with strange machines, holograms, and glowing cubes. A large round platform sat in the center, surrounded by 3 energy rings. "This," Nina said, "is Project Guardian." Martin walked around it slowly. "What is it?" "It's a relay system," she explained. "It allows me to share the alien technology safely with those who truly need it, but only after careful testing. I built it myself, piece by piece. Over many years." He looked at her, shocked. "You've had this for years?" "Yes, but I never activated it until now. The Varels Trust gave me permission to move forward." Martin watched as Nina placed one of the glowing cubes into the center of the platform. It lit up, and a beam of light filled the room, showing a map of Earth. "Every red dot," Nina said, "is a place in need: famine, illness, environmental collapse." Martin saw hundreds of red points flashing across the planet. "I will start there," she said, quietly. "No cameras, no politics. Just help." He looked at her with admiration. "You're going to do what no world leader ever could." "I'm not here to rule," she said softly. "I'm here to serve." Word about the Varel ship had already spread across the solar system, but no one knew the full truth. Most people didn't know that a former janitor from Luna Colony was holding the key to a better world. Martin asked, "Aren't you afraid?" "What if governments find out what you have?" Nina nodded. "They already suspect. That's why I must move quickly and carefully. I can't trust them to use this wisely. They might weaponize it or sell it for profit. So what will you do?" "I will find people who care. Farmers, doctors, builders, teachers. Quiet workers with big hearts. I will train them to use this gift safely. I call them the Guardians." Martin smiled. "And you're their leader?" "No," Nina said. "I'm their guide. The leader is the mission." The next few weeks were unlike anything Martin had experienced. Every day, Nina received messages from across the globe, secret signals from people she had quietly helped over the years. Former students, scientists, and even homeless thinkers she once met during her time on Earth. These people became the first Guardians. She gave each one a small part of the alien cube, just enough to grow crops in dead soil, or heal a sick village, or clean a poisoned river. Martin helped organize the delivery routes, using his old business contacts to hide the real purpose. The rich men who once laughed with him had no idea he was now working to save the world. One evening, Nina stood at the window, watching the stars. Martin joined her. "You were always this person," he said. "You just needed someone to see it." "I didn't need someone," she said. "I just needed time." He looked at her. "And love?" She gave a small smile. "Love came as a surprise. A good one. But peace never lasted forever. One morning, Rex, the AI assistant, sent out a warning. Alert! Colony security has detected a data leak. Someone is tracking the signal used by Project Guardian." Martin stood up. "How is that possible?" "Unknown. But someone is watching." Nina remained calm. "It was only a matter of time. What will you do?" Martin asked. "I will move the core of Project Guardian off the colony." "Where?" "Somewhere no one will look. Somewhere even governments don't bother checking." Martin blinked. "Earth?" She nodded. "Yes, back to where this all began. They left Luna quietly, using an old cargo ship Martin once owned. No security, no announcements. Just silence. They landed in a forgotten village on Earth's southern side, where electricity came once a day and people lived off simple food and water. It was the perfect place. There Nina built a new lab, smaller, hidden underground. She called it the Root. It was there that she reactivated Project Guardian. More guardians came. People from all walks of life: nurses, mechanics, young inventors, elderly teachers. Nina trained them with patience. Martin helped build small schools for them to learn quietly. One evening, a young girl asked Nina, "Why did the aliens choose you and not someone famous?" Nina answered with a kind smile, "Because I didn't ask to be chosen, I just listened." Martin watched everything in quiet wonder. He had spent most of his life chasing money, comfort, and pride. But here, helping Nina and the Guardians, he felt something new. Peace. One night, as the stars above the earth flickered again, just for a second, Martin knew it was not random. "They're watching," he said. "Yes," Nina whispered. "And they're waiting to see what we become." A soft wind passed through the quiet village where Nina and Martin now lived. Earth's skies were blue again, birds flew freely, and clean rivers ran through the fields. For the world, nothing had changed. But underground, beneath the old houses and farmland, something powerful was growing. Inside a hidden lab called the Root, Nina stood before a glowing screen. Dozens of small lights blinked on the map. These were the Guardians, her students, now spread across the planet, using alien technology to help quietly. Some were healing the sick. Others were growing food and desserts. Some were cleaning poisoned lakes. Martin watched from behind. He couldn't believe how far they had come in just a few months. "Do you think the world will ever know the truth?" he asked. Nina looked at him. "One day. But not yet. Right now they're not ready." Just then, the air shifted. A light pulsed across the lab's walls. The relay device, the same one Nina had built on Luna Colony, was glowing again. A deep hum filled the room. Nina walked closer. "They're here," she said. "The Varel." Martin's heart beat faster. "What do they want now?" Nina placed her hand on the relay. The light turned blue. A calm voice filled the air, soft, distant, but clear. "We have watched. We have studied. We are ready to speak again." Nina and Martin stood in the middle of the lab as a hologram of the Varel appeared. The tall, glowing beings floated calmly, their voices flowing like music. "We see the seeds you have planted," one of them said. "But the question remains, is your species ready?" Martin frowned. "Ready for what?" The Varel replied, "For unity, for peace, for shared knowledge. We can offer more energy that never runs out, ways to live longer, cures for pain. But we do not give these gifts without care. You must prove that your kind will not misuse them." Nina bowed her head. "I understand. You must choose," the Varel said. "Do you trust humanity enough to accept this gift?" Martin stepped forward. "But how can she decide for the whole world?" The Varel turned to him. "Because she is the only one who asked for nothing." After the hologram faded, Nina sat in silence. Her hands were still, her mind racing. The Varel had given her a powerful task, not just to help, but to judge. Martin placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to answer now." But she looked at him with steady eyes. "Yes, I do. This is why they chose me." She stood up and opened a small box she had kept hidden. Inside was a cube, smooth, silver, glowing with soft energy. It was the full version of the technology the Varel had offered. Until now, she had used only fragments to teach the Guardians. But this was the true source. Martin stared at it. "If you activate that, it could change everything. Or destroy everything," Nina said quietly. "If the wrong people take it, wars could begin." He nodded slowly. "So what do we do?" She walked to the center of the lab and placed the cube on the platform. "I will call them back," she said, "and give them my answer." The next day, Nina sent a signal through the relay. That night, the sky above the village changed again. A second Varel ship appeared, this one smaller, closer to Earth's surface. It floated silently, casting soft silver light on the ground below. Nina and Martin entered the ship using a simple beam of light. Inside, they saw the same peaceful beings. This time, there were no tests. No questions, only a seat in the center of the ship, made for Nina. She sat down. One of the Varel approached. "Have you made your decision?" Nina nodded. "Yes, I will accept the gift, but only on one condition." "Speak." "I want to build a council. Not of leaders or rich people, but of guardians, ordinary humans who serve quietly. They will guide how the gift is used." "Not me." Not one voice, but many. The Varel were silent for a moment. Then one spoke. "You ask for shared power. That is rare." "I ask for shared responsibility," Nina said, "because that's how humanity learns." The Varel bowed. "Then you are truly ready." They returned to Earth the next day. Nina began choosing the first council members: doctors from poor villages, teachers from forgotten towns, farmers who grew food for others before themselves. She gave them tools to protect the cube and wisdom to guide its use. Martin watched as the council formed. People from every continent joined, not for fame or reward, but to serve. "I never thought I'd live to see this," Martin told her one evening. Nina smiled. "Neither did I." He looked at her, thinking back to when he first saw her cleaning floors at the Celestial Club. "I married you for a dare," he said. "But you gave me a reason to believe in something again." Nina looked up at the stars, and the stars blinked back. But not everyone was happy. Rumors started to spread. Some powerful people on Earth heard whispers about strange cures, sudden healings, crops that grew overnight. They sent spies. Some followed Nina, others tried to track the guardians. One night, Rex gave an alert. Multiple surveillance drones detected in the sky, unmarked. Martin rushed to Nina. "They're coming." She remained calm. "I knew they would. That's why I trained the guardians in secret." "What will they do?" "They'll protect the mission," she said. "Not with weapons, with truth. With proof that this gift isn't for control, it's for care." The Varel sent a final message. "Your world stands at a door. If you keep walking with care, we will walk beside you." And then they were gone, not in anger, not in fear, just in patience, waiting, watching. Nina and Martin stood on the hill above the village as the morning sun rose. Below them, children ran through fields of fresh crops and birds sang in the trees. Martin turned to her. "You were never just a janitor." Nina looked at him, eyes soft. "And you were never just a joke." He smiled. "You changed me." She touched his hand. "No, you changed yourself." That's why they watched. Not to see perfection, but to see change. The world was changing, even if most people didn't know it yet. In quiet corners of Earth, healing centers were opening without money or borders. In dry lands, new green fields were growing. In sick villages, children who had once been near death were now laughing and playing again. All of it was happening silently, without news, without pride. It was Nina's way, but she knew it wouldn't stay quiet forever. Powerful groups were getting closer. Governments, corporations, and private armies were beginning to ask questions. They wanted answers, and more than anything, they wanted control. Martin Gray, now older and wiser, stood beside Nina on the roof of their small building in the village. They watched the sun rise over the trees. Birds flew through the soft orange light. It was peaceful, but Martin felt the pressure building. "They'll come for it soon," he said. "I know," Nina replied calmly. "You can hide it, maybe even run. But how long before they start hurting people just to find the truth?" Nina looked at him with steady eyes. That's why I must make the next move. Later that day, Nina gathered the Guardians Council. These were people from different parts of the world, each one selected not for power, but for service. Farmers, doctors, teachers, engineers, all of them had helped others before helping themselves. They sat in a circle under a tall tree in the village square. The silver cube, glowing softly, sat in the middle. Nina stood before them. "We are at a turning point," she said. "We have helped many, quietly and carefully. But now the world is beginning to watch. We have two choices." She held up a hand. 1. We stay in the shadows, keep working quietly. Delay conflict but slow progress. She raised the other hand. 2. We step into the light. Reveal the truth. Offer this gift to the world, but risk it being stolen, twisted, or turned into something dark. The council sat in silence, thinking deeply. A teacher from South America stood up. "If we stay silent, we may protect the gift, but many more will suffer without knowing it exists." A nurse from Asia nodded. "But if we reveal it, they may try to take it from us." A farmer from Africa said, "Then we must be ready. We must teach people not just how to use it, but why." Martin watched quietly as the council debated. He was proud of Nina, proud of how far she had come, and how far he had come with her. But something inside him told him this wasn't just her choice anymore. That evening, Martin sat alone outside the lab. Nina joined him with 2 cups of warm tea. She sat beside him and handed him a small folded paper. "What's this?" he asked. "It's the plan," she said. "If I choose to release the gift to the world, I need someone to build the structure to support it. The labs, the schools, the communication lines. That someone is you." Martin unfolded the paper. It had sketches, maps, and steps listed with simple care. "You want me to build all this?" She nodded. "You spent your life building companies, towers, systems. Now I need you to build something better. Not for profit, not for pride, but for purpose." Martin stared at the paper, then looked up at her. "You trust me with this?" "I do, because I've seen you change. You chose to walk with me when you didn't have to. You gave up wealth and comfort. You listened when no one else would. That's more than most." Martin smiled softly. "Then let's do it." The next week, Martin began to act. He used old contacts to build networks, but this time, not for business. He reached out to engineers, architects, and builders who cared about people. He didn't use Nina's name. He simply asked, "Do you want to be part of something that helps the world?" Many said yes. They built small centers around the world. They looked like simple schools or clinics, but inside, each had a piece of the alien cube. Slowly, the technology spread, but always with guidance, always with training. Every user had to learn not just how to use it, but why. They called it the gift of care. But the shadows still moved. One night, a private military group tried to break into one of the new centers. They were stopped not with weapons, but by the people of the town. Farmers, parents, and young students formed a human shield. They said, "This place saved our children. You will not take it." The news spread. Soon the world began to learn the truth. Not from leaders, not from scientists, but from the people. Stories of healing, of miracles, of hope. At first, there was disbelief, then anger, then something else. Respect. Because the gift was not hidden in castles or cities. It was in villages, small towns, and open hands. One morning, the Varel returned. Their ship appeared high above Earth, silent and glowing. They sent a message to Nina. "We have seen your choice. We have seen their hearts. You have walked carefully, and so they follow." Nina replied with a single word: "Together." Martin stood next to her as they watched the stars blink again. This time in a long, beautiful pattern. "What does it mean?" he asked. "It means we're not alone anymore," Nina whispered. "And it means we chose right." Martin took her hand. "Do you ever regret marrying me? After all this?" She looked at him, her eyes soft. "I didn't marry you because you were kind. I married you because I wanted to see if kindness could grow. And did it?" She smiled. Yes, it did. The stars blinked again. Earth was quiet, but something had changed. Not just the air, not just the soil, not just the lives, but the spirit. Humanity had made its choice, not for power, not for war, but for something better. Because one woman believed in truth, and one man was brave enough to follow her. 1 year had passed since the world changed. It had not changed with noise or fire. There were no battles, no flags waving in the sky. Instead, it had changed in quiet, small ways, in how people treated each other, in how children learned, and in how hope returned where once there had been only fear. At the center of this quiet revolution stood Nina, and beside her, always, was Martin Gray, the man who once laughed at the idea of love, the man who once married her on a dare. Now he was her closest partner, and he was proud of it. The village where it all began had become a symbol. People from around the world came not to take pictures, but to learn. Scientists, farmers, students, and even leaders came to see the place where the first message had been received, and where healing had begun. In that same quiet village, Martin sat under a tree, watching the sunrise again. His hair was thinner. Now his hands were slower. But his heart was stronger than ever. Nina joined him with warm tea. She sat quietly beside him. "They're coming today," she said softly. "I know," he replied. The Varel were returning, not just as silent watchers, this time, but as visitors. They had sent a message weeks ago. "We will land. We come in peace. We come to listen." It would be the first time alien beings stepped onto Earth with an open invitation. Nina and Martin had prepared for this day. But even now, Martin felt nervous. "Do you think they'll be like us?" he asked. "No," Nina said gently. "But that's the beauty of it. They don't need to be like us. They came not to rule, but to understand." As the sun rose higher, people gathered in the field near the silver lab. Children held flowers. Elders stood with hands over hearts. And in the sky above, a shape appeared. It was not like the ships from movies. It was smooth, white, and moved without sound, like a cloud that had chosen to fall. The ship landed slowly in the open field. A soft hum filled the air. Then silence. A door opened. A soft light poured out. And from that light stepped the Varel. They were tall, with thin silver bodies and long arms. Their eyes were deep blue, glowing like calm oceans. They had no mouths, but their thoughts spoke clearly in the minds of those around them. "We are here, not to teach, not to judge, but to learn." The crowd stood still. No one screamed. "Number one" ran. It was not fear, it was awe. Nina stepped forward. "You are welcome," she said aloud. "This world is not perfect, but it is trying. And we want to learn too." The Varel bowed. Over the next few days, the Varel met with people across the globe. They asked questions not about money, not about weapons, but about kindness, care, and connection. They wanted to know how humans forgave, how they loved, how they dreamed. Martin watched all of it from the background, feeling a quiet joy in his heart. One evening, as the stars returned to the sky, one of the Varel came to speak with him directly. It didn't use words. Instead, the thoughts came softly into his mind. "You were once full of pride. Why did you follow her?" Martin smiled. "Because she had something I didn't." "What was that?" "Purpose," he said. "She believed in something bigger than herself. And somehow, she believed I could too." The Varel paused, then offered something that looked like a small, glowing seed. "You have changed. That is rare among your kind. Plant this in your home. Let it grow. It will remind you of your journey." Martin accepted it with both hands, holding it close. A month later, the Varel returned to the stars. They left no weapons, no machines. Only knowledge, kindness, and new friendships. Their final message was simple. You are ready to walk your path. You are not alone, and your light is worth protecting. The world did not go back to what it was. It couldn't. People had seen too much. They had learned what kindness could do, and it was stronger than fear. And at the center of this change, Nina kept working. She didn't become a celebrity. She didn't accept awards. She stayed in the village, helping new centers grow, guiding people who wanted to make the world better. Martin worked beside her. Not as a boss, not as a millionaire, but as a man who had learned to serve. One quiet evening, years later, Martin sat again under the old tree. His hair was white now. His hands shook a little when he lifted his tea. Nina sat beside him, her hair silver too. Her eyes still sharp. They looked at the stars together, the same way they had for years. You remember when I married you? Martin asked. Nina smiled. On a dare, he chuckled. I thought I was clever. You were foolish, very. They both laughed. But thank you, she said softly. For what? He asked. For staying. For listening. For becoming who you were always meant to be. Martin looked up at the sky, eyes misty. I thought I had everything when I had money, he said. But I had nothing. You gave me something real. Something that doesn't fade. The next morning, children found the two of them sitting together, still holding hands. They were quiet, peaceful, and smiling. They had left this world the way they lived in it together, in purpose, in peace. In the place where they sat, a tree grew days later faster than nature should allow. Its leaves glowed faintly at night. People began calling it the Tree of Change, and under its shade, people told the story again and again of a man who married a woman on a dare and found the truth, the stars, and himself